running.
Sweet.
Okay.
And you're better because I've adjusted you. Okay, are we going?
Yeah. We're going.
Okay. So here I am with my wonderful new patient. I met him first time today. And what we see is the right hand, my right hand here is lower than my left, indicating he's curving right. So then if we palpate his spine, we feel all the load in his right shoulder. So the first rib deals with female limitations. The second rib deals with a issue of dependency, and it says if it's to be, it's up to me. So he's very strong, he's very independent, he pushes through fatigue. We need to help him to save energy. Then we come down and we see that there was a recent female peer rejection issue because his fifth rib's out in his shoulder blade. And so what this indicates is that you would attract a more male dominant female. The female that you would attract would have father injury. And then no matter what you do, it wouldn't be enough for what the father didn't give. And so what you keep thinking is, if I do enough, I'll be enough. And the reality of it is the more you do, the more tired you get. It has nothing to do with being enough. Then as we come down in the spine, we see he has a lot of load in the lower thoracic area and more load on the right side. And that deals with he's a savior. He wants to help people. And so what happens is he thinks the more he helps, the more value he has. And the challenge with that is we really want to coach people to empower, not save, because when people empower, it's more like this: what can you do about your challenge instead of what I can do about your challenge? So we really want to empower people to take action in their life so they can get the transformation they really want. And then if we come down to the lower back, my patient here has a compressed lower back disc, and that deals with years of taking stress internally. And so what happens with men, it's a lot of times their mothers are strong influences, their fathers are more absent. And what happens is the mother will say, don't cry, which teaches the child to internalize and deny, rationalize and withdraw. So what we want to do is help people to understand that when they get hurt, it's vital that they express their hurt, not internalize their hurt. And so this is just one posture to assess, and we assess 4 different views, but that's one view from one posture, helping the patient to understand the stress that they're carrying, and then what really is the origin of that. And that this pattern we see all the time with men who early on in life, their fathers are absent, their mothers are dominant. And then they seek approval from the dominant mother who never received father approval, can't give the son approval, but can give him expectation. And so when we get expectation, we hear the message, if you do it right. But it's funny because no matter how great you do something, it's never quite right enough to get the validation you need. And so did some of that make sense to you?
Actually, all of it makes. It's funny because I'm like that with my real father who was not there. So, and even to this day, I'm still seeking the validation.
Right.
And so, I had a stepfather who had to step in. And
right.
It's weird, but his validation actually means more to me than my real father. But
right.
A piece of me, because he's my biological father.
Right.
I want to hear that from him.
Right.
And I see him giving that to my other stepbrothers.
Right.
Not to me, and of course.
It's hurtful.
Yeah.
It's hurtful. And again, just keep in mind, your real father cannot give you what he never received. And so he wanted to be loved by his father, encouraged and validated. He didn't receive the love, validation, and encouragement from his father, so he didn't know how to give you what you needed. So if you think it's about him withholding, that's not true. He just he had not mastered what you needed. And what we think in expectation is we think our parents should be healthy, but we should ask the question, well, were they raised in a healthy dynamic? Because that's the only way a parent is healthy. And if that dynamic is not validating, encouraging, loving, then what we do is we get misdirected, and what you've done is accomplish your whole life you've accomplished things. But what you really need to be doing is validating your accomplishments, not negating your accomplishments. Because this pattern says, oh, that's good. And then they use the word but, and the word but negates the good. And then, so when you say, oh, that's good, but now you're setting a higher expectation that sets you up to feel inadequate. And this inadequacy issue is multi-generational, and it's disguised in expectation. And I'll end on this. We really should hear this message. If you do something, I was taught, if you do something to do it right. What I found is when I did it right, I was not validated. Now we've taught something that's powerful. And just like when you stand, you're too far backward in a curve, which references the obscure father. And so that's why there's a part of you that's still searching for that love. But then when you get rejected in other relationships, it's going to trigger obsessive compulsiveness, some crazy intensity. You will want to get the person back. But once you get the person back, you realize, oh, there's all sorts of problems. And so this is how multi-generational patterns of behavior work.
Awesome. Wow. That was awesome.
Was that good?
That was great.